Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Scholar ChitChat. So I'm Ojay, your host, and today we have a very, very special guest with us, and she's someone who has successfully navigated the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship, and she's here to share her experiences with us. Welcome. Our guest is Jadesola, and you're very welcome to Scholar ChitChat.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Jadesola today is going to be, of course, as I said previously, telling us about her experience with the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. And I think first of all, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself so the guests get to know you. So it's like, what are you doing now? I mean, obviously, you're a Commonwealth Shared Scholar, so we're talking about it, but as well, what is your passion? What are you studying? And maybe what you see yourself doing? What are you passionate about?
Okay, thank you for having me. Jadesola Jao, as she said, I am a doctor of veterinary medicine. I graduated from the University of Ibadan in 2023, and right now I'm a master's student of One Health at Royal Veterinary College in the University of London. Yeah, and I got here on a Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. I have interest in cancer research, and prior to being a master's student in One Health, I've done a few laboratory projects relating to cancer research, both in human and animal health. And I'm also very interested in volunteering, especially with a view to improve human health. I recently discovered that passion. Before, I was all about the lab work, but during my 1 year national service stint, I discovered the joy there was to be had in going out there and actually developing intervention programs for people, because I worked in the Department of Public Health for 1 year, and now I'm a master's student of One Health. So I keep finding more interesting things to love about the field of public health in general. In my spare time, I'm a professional writer. Some people might know the platform Upwork. I worked on it for the past 3 years, and I've published a few stories, articles online as well. And I am a Christian, and I am a devoted child of God. I think that sums up everything there is to know about me.
Oh, that's really cool. Nice to meet you, Jadesola. So, of course, we're just discussing today how it's quite interesting. And I mean, we didn't even talk about this part, but as you said, you studied from the University of Ibadan as well. I also finished from the University of Ibadan.
Wow. What year were you?
But I didn't do a DVM actually, so I'm not a vet. I studied microbiology, and I think I'm one of those few people, at least I'm the only one actually I know, that have done the One Health program at the RVC, at least on the Commonwealth Scholarship. That wasn't a DVM. So I know two people that finished before me on the same program, and they were both vets from the University of Ibadan.
Oh, that's so amazing. I feel like I have so much more questions to ask you, probably than you have for me.
Yes. Which is interesting, like that you have an interest in cancer research. Like you said cancer, so like, oh, and then I just realized, oh yeah, it's true, cancer is not just a human thing. And even for someone that has at least a One Health knowledge, it still took me a while. I still had to reflect a bit. I was like, oh yeah, vet, and then you're talking about cancer. I was like, oh yeah, it's true, dogs have cancer, all animals can. I think most animals, I know there's some animals that can't have cancer. I think I've read about that, but most other living things also can get cancer. And so it's quite interesting. And even apart from that, even if you, I mean, I know you're a vet, so you may be studying cancer for the animals, but as well, I think studying cancer in animals also can be used as a model to inform healthcare interventions in humans as well. So that's a very, very interesting thing. And then I talked about professional writing. That's really good. I mean, I think that you're in the right place. I think that we'll probably have you again to talk about how writing essays on your master's program is going, because I think that's a very, very big difference between the education you're used to as an undergrad and the one you'll be doing now in terms of assessments and all.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
But anyway, let's not go on a tangent. Let's kind of reel back in and talk about the Commonwealth Scholarship. So I think let's start from you. How did you hear about the Commonwealth Scholarship and what motivated you to apply?
Yeah, I first heard of the Commonwealth Scholarship when I was in my 4th year. I did a 6-year course, so pretty early in my 4th year. At that time, in vet, it was getting more popular to graduate and get a PhD scholarship. It was mostly a direct path, DVM to PhD. And we all knew that was what most brilliant students, in quotes, in the school were after. And I was the top student in my class then. So I was kind of expectant that I would follow a route like that. But then why I really started getting interested in applying, especially applying early, because I only graduated last year, was because of someone in my school actually blew a record when he got a PhD scholarship when he was still in his 5th year of school. So even before entering sixth year. He got a scholarship, a fully funded scholarship to do PhD in USA.
Yeah.
So at that point, so I met another person that got the Erasmus scholarship. So I started researching, and that was when Commonwealth Scholarship came up. I was initially motivated to apply because I loved the actually a little childish, but one of the reasons I wanted to apply for Commonwealth Scholarship was because it was in the UK, and at that time I was writing a lot of stories that were based in London. So I was just with my 400 level mind. I was like 20 years old then. I was like, if I get into a Commonwealth Scholarship, I'll get to go to London. So that was my initial focus. But Commonwealth was never really on the priority list because at that point I thought I was going to go for a direct PhD scholarship. Yeah.
Oh, that's very, very interesting. See, just as you were just speaking just now, like I actually went to check your LinkedIn and I realized that you are staying in Good Enough.
Oh yeah, did you stay yet?
Yeah, I stayed at Good Enough as well.
That is so.
And I got the Commonwealth Award. Anyway, it's quite interesting that we have a lot of parallels, even though to be honest, it's quite interesting. But yeah, okay. So you've talked about how you found, and I think it's a very valid reason actually to want to live in London. It's a good motivation, even though you say it's childish. I think London is one of those. It's a very interesting, remarkable city. So it's a very good motivation. Yeah, I think you definitely were in the right environment, and I think it's one of those things. Like when you're a top performer, people kind of expect that you would be, especially top performer academically, right? People would share academic opportunities with you. So I think that is one advantage of being like a top performer. Like you get this kind of things. And I remember it's kind of similar. Not similar for me. I started thinking about scholarships even after I'd finished my degree. Like I wasn't even thinking about traveling abroad when I was in the university at all. I was just doing my university life. But as soon as I got my results, and I shared because I finished the first class. So just as you were the top of your department, I finished the first class, and then when I told a family friend, they were like, "Oh, you should start applying for scholarships to go to the UK." Not to the UK, but like just leave Nigeria. And yeah, so I was like, okay, let's research about it. And then I did research and then started applying. So I think that for some people kind of can also steer you into this direction simply because they feel like it's something you have strength in and assume that it's your passion. Of course, most times they're right, but maybe not necessarily always. So it's always good to know and have a sincere motivation for yourself. And even I like the point when you mentioned the guy that got a PhD direct, because that's definitely a path that a lot of Nigerians don't tread. And you don't even have to study a DVM or a degree for 6 years. Like if you have a regular bachelor's degree, there are a lot of people who, especially in the US, finish their undergrad and immediately go for a PhD in the United States. And I think for me, that was something I considered when I did my research. And I was like, I actually talked myself out of it because I was like, oh, I study microbiology in Nigeria. I am not up to date with like the latest technology, and I'm not sure that I want to just go and plunge into a PhD. Now I know that was not necessarily the right kind of mindset. Because the PhD is also a training ground where you can catch up with anything that it will be tough, right, at the start if you don't have the right background, but there's actually space for you to grow and learn all the things you need to excel in the degree. Okay, so let's skip there and let's still talk more about the Commonwealth Scholarship. Yeah. So for those who've never heard about the Commonwealth Scholarship, how would you describe it?
Okay, I would describe it as a scholarship opportunity that targets individuals from Commonwealth countries that are very, very academically sound, academically brilliant students who are seeking to make a change in their communities but cannot afford the resources to study in an high-income country for a period of years. So the scholarship wants to bridge this gap, wants to bring those students over here for a period of time, after which it hopes to give them some skills so when they go back to their country, they can make the meaningful change that's wanted to initially.
I think you've said it like fully. And so in terms of people who are like confused about what actually the scholarship covers, what does it cover? If you have a Commonwealth scholarship, what does it mean?
It means you're a baller.
That's a good phrasing.
It means you're a baller because it covers everything. Even your visa fees are covered, which is rare, I think, generally for scholarships. Your visa fees are covered, your TB test costs are covered, your insurance, your flights to and from the UK. You get a stipend. Right now, our stipend for London scholars is basically 1,700 per month, but then for non-London scholars. I don't know, I'm going to say around 1.4 to 1.5 per month, which is good enough to live on and even send some money back home, depending on. And you also get your clothing allowance, one clothing allowance, £527, I think, when you first get here. And yeah, that's it. Oh yeah, I forgot the most important thing: full tuition fees. Everything is covered. You don't need to pay a dime. You basically don't need to pay any money to study, which is really cool.
You've summarized it like pretty well. I think a lot of people they're like, oh, I want to study abroad and I don't have any money. So yeah, this is truly made for people who don't have any money, right? I remember you really don't need to have any money to apply for this kind of things. Covers everything. Yeah, truly covers everything. And you would even get a thesis grant. I don't think you've got it yet. Not yet, but you get it before when it comes time for you to apply. When it comes time for you to write a thesis, you would or your dissertation, you get some extra money as well. I think you would get some extra money whether or not you even need it. Yeah. So yeah, there is a lot of support for you to kind of pursue graduate degree. And because interestingly, the episode, at least on the podcast that was just released before this one, so the episode before this particular episode was the story of someone who studied self-funded. So there's going to be like a lot of parallels, like a lot of differences between that experience and the experience of studying on a fully funded scholarship. And a fully funded scholarship is just like one of the types of scholarships that you can actually have. So which is why, as you stated, tuition fees covered. That's a level of funding. Some people can just cover your tuition fee and then you still have to pay everything. You still have to pay for your flights, you still have to pay for your visa, and all those things are a lot of money. But Commonwealth, once you get it, you can just go and sleep, literally, because every other thing will be covered. All you have to do is just take yourself to the airport and carry your body, and everything is covered. So yeah, that's really cool. So now that we've said all the wonderful things about the scholarship, how does someone actually get the scholarship? What is the criteria for getting a Commonwealth Shared Scholarship?
Okay, I just would like to preface this by saying that this is my personal experience, which I am very sure differs for everyone. But let me just start by rattling off everything that has been said in the website. You need to have a solid academic background. So they mostly look for students with a first class or a second class upper. Anything below that cannot even apply. So they're looking for first class, second class upper students. They're looking for students with a lot of leadership and volunteering experiences. Students that have basically made an impact in their communities in one way or another. And students that show very, very promising. They're very promising in whatever way they describe it based on the school. Sometimes, depending on the school you apply for, you might need proof of proficiency. So you might need your IELTS or your TOEFL. And most of the schools, like about 90% of the schools, you don't even need application fees. So you can basically apply, apart from your TOEFL exam, you can basically apply for it for free. So yeah, those are the things that they require.
So I mean, yeah, as we've said, it's really that straightforward. And again, these things are on the website. So the website is actually kind of like the final authority on what the criteria you need to meet to actually consider for a Commonwealth scholarship. But mostly your academics is quite important because they do require that you are a good student. And then, I mean, you also sort of need to have an interest in development, because I think we'll come to this when you talk about like the essays you have to write. So even though you are good academically, you have to show that you do have some interest in contributing to the development of your country. And if you have every other thing listed, you talked about English proficiency. Did you have to submit one to get into the university for your admission?
I did. Yeah. I had written a TOEFL exam, so I used that.
Yeah. Because, as I said, some universities need that English proficiency while others do not. I've heard someone say that the person applied to the university as well and did not get in. And then she said the reason was because she did not submit that English proficiency. And I'm not really sure. I can't remember again whether it was such a priority. Because for me, I had the certificate, so I just uploaded it. I didn't take much stock into it. But then she claims that was a major factor. So maybe there's some truth to it. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. But you have to do your research to find out if the school is willing to waive it or take something else in place of it. Because I know a lot of universities in the UK, for instance, they take your like WAEC results. So if you have like credit, at least the credit in WAEC English, they accept that as well. So yeah, you have to do like your research. And I would always say the website is the final information. It's like the authority on what is required. Okay, so I'll ask the next question regarding like work experience. Is work experience something that you think that that is a requirement for getting this scholarship?
Well, from my observation, because I know that the scholarship has become tighter over the years. There are lesser slots, and there's also there's a tightening of their criteria somehow now. So what I noticed this year was that most people that got in hard work experience, and that is including me.
Okay.
But I think that if you were very, very academically, if you're like one of the top 1% of your class, stuff like that, I think you have a better chance of getting in without as much work experience. So my work experiences altogether were like 2-3 years. But most of the other people that I have seen in this cohort, most of them had spent 3, 4, 5 years in the work industry. But there were others too that they had not worked that long, just 2 years, 1 year. I've not seen anyone from Nigeria who got in as a fresh graduate. I did not see anyone with that tag this year. But that's not
But I was going to say, did you not like get in almost immediately after your degree yourself?
Yeah, I did, but that was 1 year after. I'd worked under national service for 1 year, and I had a lot of work and research experience even during school. So I don't think I can use myself because 6-year course you work a lot. So I don't want to use myself as a good example for that. That's not I never saw people, but I know work experience is not that important. But I know that at least you have to have something when they ask for work experience. Those columns, you can't just leave it blank. So whether it's internship, whether it is something, there has to be something I feel there at least. But generally in the scheme of Commonwealth, they say it all the time, work experience is helpful, but it's not that necessary. If you have a sound academic background, I am sure that they will be willing to take a shot on you. But that being said, I applied for the Commonwealth last year, so when I was still in my 6th year, and I did not get in. So who knows, was it my work experience that helped, or was it the fact that I was just better at writing the essays? So a lot of people have contributed to it, but I know that work experience is something that would help you in one way or another in getting the scholarship. Even a lot of people that had second class upper also had 5 years, 6 years work experience. So maybe it helped in a way.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think you raised like very valid points about the work experience. As you said, like Commonwealth, I think if you check the website, they will not really emphasize that, you have to have a certain number of years of work experience. For instance, that's like a parallel to like Chevron, who will say you have to have a particular number of hours, which is kind of equivalent to 2 years of work experience. So that is like a strict criteria. But for Commonwealth, there's nothing like that, right? So, but again, if you do have work experience, it means that you have better skills. It should mean that you have better skills and would most likely be a better candidate. So those kind of people probably, obviously, especially with the competition, they will obviously stand out compared to people who don't have any work experience or haven't done anything. In my own case, I didn't have a professional work experience as it were. I also applied for Commonwealth during my NYC. I didn't get in, which was the first time I applied, and then I got in the second time around after my NYC. So I just finished NYC and then I got into the Commonwealth stuff. But I didn't work in a place professionally, but I think one of the things I did instead was a lot of personal development, taking online courses. And as you said, things get tighter everywhere. So I'm talking about 2020, and I'm sure that much more people are applying in 2024, and a lot of them will probably have maybe work experience or something that makes them stand out among the competition. But I'm just saying this so that if there's someone who is a fresh graduate, doesn't really have a lot of experience. Again, I would say I also did some extracurricular when I was in school and all those kind of things I could add to my CV. I did an internship, IT, and of course during the NYC I worked I was posted somewhere that was not in school. So all those things were things I could add to my CV. So yeah, but the point is, don't beat yourself up. You can always try, and don't discard any experience, because that's why I kind of highlighted that even if yourself you hadn't it's not, again, you said you're an outlier, but you hadn't worked professionally for 4 or 5 years. It was the kind of internship experiences you had in school and then your NYC. I think those are the major things you kind of highlighted. And as long as you're able to sell the fact that they had also built skills in all these experiences, that's the major thing that is very, very important to highlight. So it's not about the names of where you worked or what role you occupied, but that you're able to show the value of all these things that you did. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jadesola. And I think I would ask, if someone is to apply for the scholarship, what are the steps the person should take? So now the scholarship is open, someone wants to apply. How did you apply, or how would you advise somebody apply?
My personal opinion, I think that this is very personal based on my experience. I think for me, I realized that the race to getting a scholarship is not a sprint, it's a marathon. So since my fourth year, I'd started putting that in mind. I focused on cancer as what I wanted to do with my career, and I started getting volunteer experiences in that field. I kept my scores consistently high, started creating good relationships with my referees as far back as 2019. So I started doing all of that very emphatically. Anything I could do, I did. I watched a lot of videos online about how to write great essays, and it also helps that I'm a writer too. So I kept studying what people would say in their essays, in the videos, and I'd be like, okay, this is what they want, this is what they don't want. And I continued that way, and I started applying for schools, even if I knew that I could not get in any way in my fifth year, because I had to come it first, just for practice, just to try my hands at it. So I built up that experience, so to speak. So my first time of applying was in my sixth year. I assumed that I would get it and then travel out of the country without NYC, but I didn't get it. But it was a good experience for me. I wrote my essays, my Commonwealth essays, 3 months before the portal even opened. I just like to be prepared in that way. And I know, even among my cohort, I don't think everybody was this eye strong. I think I'm a very, very serious planner, and it showed in the way I this scholar, maybe a little too personally. But yeah, so I wrote my own essays like 2-3 months after. I messaged as many Commonwealth scholars I could find on LinkedIn, and I begged them, please help me review my essays, and nobody turned me down. And after doing that, I applied. That was it. And for this year, it was basically a repeat of what I did last year. I just took my old essays, I edited it a little bit, and I sent it in. And I'd already gotten my TOEFL. The little things, TOEFL, passport, certificate, statement of results. I'm always surprised at how many people don't have these ones ready even before applying. But those things in the, in quote, waiting period, when you are waiting for the portal to be opened, I got as many of those as I could get. Transcripts, those ones were settled. Essays, started writing them. So when the portal was open, I just had to pick the courses I wanted, and then I filled in the essays. I waited for 2 weeks. I went back to edit them until I was very, very sure that this is it. Basically, this looks right. And then I submitted. And when I was done with that, I started applying for the schools. I applied for 3 schools this time, and I got accepted in 2 schools. So I think that was good. And I picked Royal Veterinary College. Yeah, and I also applied for other opportunities, but they are not relevant to the scope of this conversation. So I tried to spread my net as wide as possible. I started early. I watched a lot of videos about the right way to write essays. I let them get reviewed. I had a good relationship with my referees so that when the time came, there would not be any back and forth. And I prayed a lot. I prayed and God answered my prayer. So yeah, that's basically how I applied. So how do you apply? I always tell people start early. Just start early. 200 level is not too early to start thinking about it, especially with the kind of competition we have now. Sometimes I used to read someone applied for 6 times, 5 times, even in my sets, people telling me they applied 6 times, 7 times before getting the scholarship. And one thing I always notice in their trend is that they most likely heard of the scholarship after school. So all the little things I was already doing in school, they just started it, volunteer experience, leadership experience. So if you want it to be faster for you, start early. Start building good relationships with your lecturers. Start taking your grades very seriously. Don't listen to the school is a scam thing. They said it all my years in school. They were like, oh, school is a scam. And a lot of people believed and stopped taking school seriously. School is not a scam. Do your best there. Volunteer, leadership roles. Find a niche that you want to impact, you want to make impact in, and start pouring all your eggs in that basket. Do volunteer experiences around that role, and then when you get out of school, start applying. Just start applying and don't stop till you get it. And sometimes you have to learn how to write. This is something important. Sometimes I've seen people with amazing CVs, but they did not know how to sell themselves well. So don't underestimate the importance of going on YouTube, watching all those videos about how to write a good essay, how to write a good personal statement. Watch as many of them as you can and then apply. There's no way you will not get it as long as you keep going. So yeah, that's generally what I think about applying for the scholarship.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, that was also very, very loaded. You talked about a lot of things and put out a lot of different points that I think yeah, it kind of shows why you got the scholarship, because I think you do understand the process. And I think if there's anybody that's been listening to the podcast for a while, we've had people talk about different scholarships. So Erasmus Mundus, MasterCard, Chevening, we've talked about a wide range of scholarships, even just being getting like masters in the US, which is not even really talked about most times. People talk about PhDs in the US. Like we've had people cover a range of things, and it's almost always a variant of these things. First of all, the people that apply for scholarships are people who are quite very interested in them. People who apply for scholarships and get them are people who are very interested in them. We've talked about people who start early, like yourself, start in like fourth year and practice before even the time when they are like fully prepared and like fully have everything, all the dots dotted and all the T's crossed. And then there's also people who, even when they hear about it late, they persist and continue doing it for 5-6 years amidst rejections. That's also, and a lot of people are very thorough. There was someone here who shared about how he keeps a record. He has a book where if he has experiences, he starts writing. He just writes them down because he applies for a lot of scholarships. So it's like, oh, this is an experience I've had. This is the reflection. Let's say it falls under leadership, so I'm going to write it here. And again, you've shared as well how you were you took it personal and you were very thorough in everything. And yeah, it's a thread. Like you meet people and you kind of know that, oh, this person is going to get in. Like even when you talk to some people, like you say yourself, there are some people you meet that don't have the attainment of results or don't have passports. You're like, this person, I don't know, you've not started your journey yet. But when sometimes you come across people who are applying and they have all the things ready, you're like, oh yeah, I know I'm not even on the boards, but I feel like you do have a very, very good chance and missed all the competition. So I really hope that everybody has heard you, everybody that's coming. I like the point where you stress that even if you're in 200 level, it's not too early to start. And I think that's something that I didn't get to hear. To be fair, I had a lot of friends who were thinking about live in Nigeria, but I didn't even think about it. And I was an academically smart person, and I had people abroad, like I knew people who were studying abroad, but it wasn't just something that was a priority. But then when I took it up, I kind of took it like you. I was very personal about it. I did everything within 1 year. Using IELTS, had my passport, had my statement of results, everything was ready. And I'd also done a lot of research, completed a lot of courses, just beefed up myself to be like someone who I thought would fit the profile for someone who get a scholarship. So I don't think I have any other thing to add to be very, very honest. You've kind of said the whole thing. But I think one other thing that a lot of people have questions about is about the essays themselves. So Commonwealth Shared essays are very unique. What tips do you have to give someone applying? How do they approach the essays, especially with your writing experience? What kind of tips will you give someone?
Okay, I have said one of the tips already, which is go online and watch as many videos as you can. There's this great set of videos about how to write a Commonwealth essay that helped me when I was first writing mine, by Victor Agoga. I know he's very good. So, but apart from that, apart from reading as much, watching as many videos, reading as many essays as you can from past CSC scholars, I think you should play to your strengths. And people come and meet me to review their essays, and what I thought was normal knowledge is not as common as one. Yeah. When you're writing the Commonwealth essays, you need to play to your strengths. You need to write them with this understanding. Number one, there is a very serious problem in this particular sector in Nigeria. And then number two, you are uniquely poised to solve that problem. For whatever reason, you are uniquely poised to solve that problem. And number three, once they trust you with this money and put you at the head of fixing that problem, several things, several benefits are going to come of it. That is the guideline you need to follow. For any essay, there is a problem. You are uniquely poised to solve it. And once they put you at the forefront, things will start to change. That is all. And then you can now start breaking this down for several different fields. I'm going to use my own field. When I was applying, I applied for cancer courses and also one else, which is not really a cancer course, but is at the intersection of human and animal diseases. So the problem I noticed in Nigeria at that point, which is still ongoing anyway, so many zoonotic diseases, Ebola, Lassa, monkeypox, there is nothing. Every other year we have one. So that was the problem I wrote about. I was like, every other year Nigeria is plagued with these problems. and then we expect only medical doctors to solve it when most of these diseases are zoonotic. So I played to that strength. I was like, Nigeria is not utilizing the fact that they have veterinarians that can solve these problems well, and that's why the problems keep persisting. I am a veterinarian that is interested in solving these problems. Give me that opportunity and I promise I will fix it. That was basically the summary of my developmental impact essays. And then when I was writing for cancer, the same issue. I'd worked in cancer field and I've seen strange things, a lot of strange. I was like, people in Nigeria are dying because of a drug that was licensed in the US in 1978 that has not even come to Nigeria. I was like, this should not be so. We need more cancer researchers. And I was like, pick me. How do you know you can trust me? I have done work in cancer research, not even just in human beings, in animals. You can trust me. I can fix this issue for you. So that's basically it. You have a problem. There is something about you that is unique. That's when you answer that question. What is so special about me? You say, I'm uniquely poised. I have the experience. I am hungry and desperate for knowledge. And more importantly, I will come back and I will show you that I will change things. And how do you know I will change things? I have changed things in the past. This is where your work experience comes in. This is where you volunteer. This is when you will not, in some of the essays, they will start asking you to describe stuff like what have you done before, or personal statement, volunteer and leadership experience. This is when you now pack it that see what I have done and see what I aim to do. It's basically, I have done this in my community. So if you give me something, if you give me this money that you want to give me, just imagine how much more of an impact I can make. That was basically the summary of all my essays. That's how I write essays. You want to look at what they are thinking of. You want to look at what they want to fund. Let me give another example. My friend recently came to meet me to review her essays for this One Health course, and I noticed she was really talking more about antimicrobial resistance, which is a good thing. But in Nigeria as of now, I believe that there were more pressing issues than antimicrobial resistance with the amount of zoonotic diseases we are dealing with. Antimicrobial resistance is a serious issue in Nigeria now. But I just asked her, which one is a more serious issue? Which one do you think that they are more likely to throw money at to solve? The answer is monkeypox. Because even here in my course, they keep talking about it all the time. Because I'm still in the course. Monkeypox, translating from Africa, another one again. So that's what they are concerned about. Try to figure out what they care about right now and tell them, I can stand in that gap. I can fix it for you. That's basically what I always try to do. And I think it helps that I'm a writer. I can always figure out what people want to hear, what people are interested in, and you just drag it out and you say, don't worry, I see you guys. I can fix it for you. That's it.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Jadesola. That was so insightful. And I think, definitely the appropriate approach that anybody should be taking. And I think one thing that people do, or I think I've also learned as well, is you should be one, as you said, talking about your own passion and your capabilities. You talked about where your work experience comes in, but as well, you are trying to sell yourself to someone, and you have to make sure that your passion, your capabilities also fit into that person's interest. It's when those two things meet that you would actually get what you want. You can rave about whatever it is you're very passionate about. If the person is not interested, even if you write the best essay, it won't get you anywhere. So you have to make sure you find that point where the two things collide. And a very good approach to writing is something that you've talked about. You have like a very clear aim. You are sort of answering questions with your essay. So it's like, what actually do I think they want to know? And you've stated everything. They want to know that you are best suited to solve this particular problem. And all your essay, everything you write must make sure that they highlight this particular point that you're well suited for for solving that particular problem that you have chosen to highlight. So and I think you've mentioned this previously, that when you wrote your essays 3 months in advance, which is you shared with people and nobody told you down. And I think that's one thing that people don't realize. A lot of people are scared of reaching out to people, but again, just as you said, I think a lot of other people on this platform has also said it. There's barely anyone who gets the scholarship without actually sharing their essays with anybody. You have to share with a good number of people. I've shared it a number of times. That for me, I shared it with PhDs, so it was a group of people, and I remember getting my essays back with a lot of corrections, even though the summary was that, this is such a very great essay, it was well written, but I still had a lot of notes and a lot of things to correct as well. But so it's very difficult to get one without having reviewers, and very few people will turn you down, especially if you give them notice. Like you gave 3 months. I tell people, always prepare in advance and give people a lot of time to actually review, because they also have life happening for them. So you're not going to send your essay nights before and have anybody actually review it for you. So I think one thing you also mentioned is the fact that you applied to two kinds of courses. So there was the cancer one and there was the one health one. So how would you advise people who are applying to like different universities or different applications? I mean, because for Commonwealth you can apply to more than one university, more than one course. What kind of advice would you give them regarding their essay?
Well, I would say that I would always advise people to apply for multiple courses, but try to apply for courses you can defend. This is very important. All courses in Commonwealth, they have a reason why they kept them there. They can actually lead to the development of Nigeria, but it's not all courses you can defend. Not all courses you can defend studying them, and not all courses you can even defend the fact that you have experience to back it up. If I were to apply for a master's in biotechnology, I would not even know where to start writing from. And essays would be easier to write when you are telling the truth. The reason why I could apply for one else because I'm actually very interested in infectious diseases, and I had not done serious work on it, but at least I'd been interested enough to do something relating to it, so I could still back up everything I was saying. I see a lot of people struggle with that. I will tell them apply for 6 scholarships and they'll just bring a wide array of courses, and they'll not say help me proofread your essay. I'll be like, you have not written anything. Which experience did you write here?
What am I proofreading?
Exactly, what am I proofreading when you did not write anything for me to proofread? So another thing is that if you think that Commonwealth, because Commonwealth has a very short list of courses, there are some people that will not find their best course in Commonwealth. Apply for a fee in Commonwealth and then go to Erasmus, go to US fully funded. There are so many other opportunities. Go to Chevening. It must not be Commonwealth. As long as there's any fully funded opportunity is fine. But make sure the courses you are applying for, make sure there are things that you can defend. Make sure even your CV correlates with what you are going for. And honestly, kind of make sure that it's within your interest, because pursuing a master's is not as easy as it might sound. You don't want to spend 1 year in a foreign country studying a course you hate. You would not like that at all. Try to do that, and you will see that most of your essays will even be similar because of you put courses that are all within the same line. So I think that's my general advice for that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you're completely right. If you pick courses that are similar, you don't really have to do a lot of adjustments. You can easily recycle them. But if they are completely different, then you have your work cut out for you, and it's not easy to apply. So make sure that you make the best use of your efforts. So I think we've answered a lot of questions regarding applications, and I just want to we're running out of time, and I just want to ask some more, let's say, practical questions outside of application. So for Commonwealth scholars with families and dependents, what does it mean for them regarding what does it mean for them in the long term?
Because I did not come here with a dependent or even consider it, I don't know a lot, but I know that there are some scholars there that came with their spouses. So I know that they probably give them a kind of spousal allowance. I know some people also came here with their child. They also give them a kind of dependent allowance. I think Commonwealth is really flexible on that. They still allow you to bring your spouses, even with the new UK immigration laws that changes slightly. Commonwealth still allows you to do that. I think for PhD you can bring your children. I don't know, it probably changes based on whether you are a master's student or whether you're a PhD student. But I know at least one master's student that brought a child. I know at least one master's student that brought a husband. So I know that it's still done. And the spouses can work too, from what I understand. They can do their own job. So I think a flexible allowance is something that is workable.
So at least I think that's good news. Like, you don't have to leave your family, because I think a lot of people are scared as well. A lot of people that have children, or like maybe very dependent children that are still like small, and also families, also husbands or partners, they'll be worried about like leaving them. But there's kind of this exception for people who are funded by the government. So if you do get a Commonwealth scholarship, or if you're considering applying and you're thinking that you'll not be able to bring your children because of the law, know that you actually can still be, at least as of when we are speaking, we don't know what will happen, but as of now that we are speaking in November 2024, as a Commonwealth scholar, you still can bring dependents with you. So that's definitely a plus. So I think we've kind of come to the end of this episode. But we do want to highlight a lot of things, because there are questions I would have liked to pursue or ask. But I think that you've kind of mentioned them in different places. You mentioned references, referees, and I remember, and I'm saying this because I got a question about it this week. And you talked about how you built a relationship with your referee such that you were able to ask for for references. You were able to ask for references. Can you just shed a bit of light about how you went about building that relationship with your referees?
Okay, I think it was easier for me because I was one of the best students in class, and lecturers usually like that. Also, I was lucky to go to a university and a faculty where they really encourage students to get out there and apply for opportunities abroad. So both of those things collided in a positive force. But then what I could do was that I was very careful in choosing a project supervisor. I chose probably one of the best ones in the world, and he is still very, very nice to me. And I did not build any relationship with any of my references as this kind of, I only message you when I need reference. No. Okay, I have 3. 2 of them are personal mentors to me. So even before it was time to apply for scholarship, they would even be the one that would tell me that, are you not applying for scholarship? Let me write for you. Because the relationship was not based on that. Frequent checks of, hello sir, how are you doing? Thank you very much for what you have done. Any opportunity to show them that they are important, I would not miss it. Always talking to them, maybe about their family or whatever, letting them counsel me and listening to everything they have to say. So all of these things, it plays a role in such a way that when the time comes for reference, I just need to walk into the DM and message them instead of that weird shuffle that, oh, should I message, should I not message? No. And even I actually intentionally built a relationship like that with more than 3 people, like I think 4 or 5, just in case. So I was very meticulous in planning it. I was like, just in case one of these 3 people fall through, maybe I will just message the 4th one and say, hi sir. When I was building the relationships, I was not thinking, oh, you will reference me one day. But it's just generally good practice to build relationships with people because you don't know where you will need them someday. So yeah, even now that I've gotten the scholarship, I still reach out, greet them as much as I can. So yeah, just cultivating the relationship and let the referee thing be a secondary aspect to that. It would be my advice on that.
Very wonderful. I think especially how you started, it was a very, very good preface. One, you were in an environment where people did want people to succeed. I know that a lot of Nigerian students cannot necessarily say that. Sadly, very, very sadly, a lot of people feel like they're at enmity or at war with their faculty because they don't necessarily want the best things for them. So obviously that's one. But again, even if people are in those kind of faculties, I feel like there's 1 or 2 or 3 people who you still see that are outliers or kind of completely different from everybody, who are kind of interested in the progress of their students. Reach out to these people. A lot of them are usually welcoming. One of the things I've learned in life over time is that people are more welcoming or open than you would expect. So don't be shy to reach out to people. People are also, a lot of good people are, let me preface, a lot of good people are also open to helping people. So and I like how you also said trying to network for your benefit as well. You were genuinely building a relationship which has continued up to now. And I think that's the one thing that everybody has to have in mind. If you're just seeking your own good, it kind of shows. You may not know, but the vibe will be off. But if it's actually a genuine relationship you're trying to build as well, people would also get that vibe that you're not just using them. Nobody likes to be used. So yeah, I think that's something. And I think there's also this that a lot of people always ask about your obligations post scholarship for the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. What are your obligations after? Yeah,
that scares a lot of people that we have to go back to the country.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think you probably know more about this than I do. But from what we have been told so far, we are supposed to go back to Nigeria. And except we get a PhD or we get a job that keeps us here. But I just would want people to know that going back to Nigeria after being a Commonwealth scholar is not a horrible thing. No matter what, your life will still change for it, and it will be much easier for you to apply for opportunities after. So it should not be that thing that would scare you, having to go to Nigeria for 1 year, 2 years. Someone that is a personal mentor to me, she did the Commonwealth Scholarship in probably like 2013 or whatever. She went back to Nigeria for 1 year and she applied for PhD and she got 6 different PhD opportunities in the US. That is what Commonwealth Scholarship can do. It will change you. Even you go back for 1 year, 2 years, 20 years, it will help you if you ever decide to go out of the country again. So it's not this death sentence that some people think it is. It's not that bad. You will still have something that will still help you. But yeah, generally, except to get a PhD, you are supposed to go back. But I know there are ways to get a release to stay, maybe to get a job or to get a PhD or to get married. That's another one that we recently learned of, which is a little funny. So yeah, these are the ways.
But yeah, no, I think you've kind of covered this actually, and I like the point. Yeah, you do have to get back to Nigeria. I'm not sure, but I think at the moment there's still no time. I know for chairman you have to go back to Nigeria for 2 years. I don't think Commonwealth has that.
Oh, I actually thought they had. I thought it was like at least 1 year.
I'm not sure. At the time I applied, there was no time specification, but that may have changed now. What I know was you have to go back to your country within a month of finishing. But chairman scholars, they stay here till their visa is expired, but they don't go back immediately. So some of them stay up to January or whenever their visa expires, and then they go. But then they know they can't come back for 2 years. They're not supposed to be back 2 years. Like even PhD, they are not really supposed to have an exemption. But for Commonwealth scholars, I don't think there is that. Again, as I said, it could have changed. But when I applied, it was that you get the scholarship, and then 1 month after they will have booked your flight. As soon as as you are finishing your dissertation, they would already be asking you when you want to go back home so they can book your flight for you. So there is I think the thing you said is it's like Commonwealth sets you up for life. And again, of course, it kind of also speaks to the kind of people that Commonwealth scholars are. Commonwealth scholars are people who, of course, you have been selected for a very prestigious scholarship. There's something in you. You also mostly are attending very good schools, and most times also graduate with very, very excellent grades. So you are set up for life. You are able competitor globally. As you said, the lady got 6 PhDs. I'm also currently doing a PhD that I go after my master's degree. So it's like it sets you up. You are competitive anywhere. You don't have to be a PhD. Like you can also excel in your career. You can go into business, you can go into research independently. What it is that you are set up to compete globally. You have that exposure, you have that education that sets you up. So you don't have to, and I think it's, to be fair, I'm not even going to shade anybody, but sometimes even amongst Commonwealth scholars ourselves, I see that there's also that difference in how you think about yourself. Some people think about the UK as the end all, and they are so panicked with staying in the UK at all costs. It's there, but I think people also have to realize, because for me, I was ready to pack my bag. I told myself there are some things I will not do. I will not do to stay back. I'm not going to want to marry somebody, for instance. That it's not real love. Like I'm not going to marry somebody because I want to stay in the UK, right? It's not like I was in Nigeria and then somebody picked me and decided to pay all this money on my head to bring me here. I'm a way better person now than the person that initially came. So obviously, I strongly believe at that point that it would be very, very easy for me to come back if I had to. I don't think everybody feels the same way.
Yeah, I don't even like the idea of rushing to a PhD because you want to stay in UK. I think if you want to do a PhD, you probably want to do it with more conviction than that. If not, it will frustrate you.
Actually,
this master's too is frustrating some people here because they thought of it as a Japa scheme instead of. So it pays to think well about these things too.
Yeah. So yeah, you've heard I am Jadesola, and I hope this has helped you as well. So if you are actually thinking about applying for a Commonwealth scholarship, you're thinking, oh, but I have to go back to Nigeria. Don't fret, don't worry. There's it's not the end of the world. As she has put it perfectly, it's not the end of the world. It's just the beginning, actually. To be fair, it's just the beginning. You've kind of been handed a platform that can lead you to where your dreams can take you, sort of. So all you have to do is dream big, work towards it, and the sky is the starting point. So I will have to say thank you so much, Jadesola, for sharing your experiences with us today on Scholar ChitChat. It was a very, very insightful conversation, and I believe that the listeners will learn a lot from this. And I also do believe that you're kind of open to receiving questions from people if they do have more. Of course, listeners, if you have questions, you can send them to us via email. We'll reply. You can also drop comment on any post on social media. We'll also reply. And I kind of suspect that you can also walk into Jadesola's DM on like LinkedIn, for instance, and as long as it's a reasonable request, she would be able to answer you. All right. So thank you so much, Jadesola. Thank you very much. And I hope to all our listeners, I hope you found this episode enlightening and helpful. And remember that we'll still bring you more conversations like this. But until then, keep striving and stay inspired. Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Scholar ChitChat. If you found our conversation insightful and enjoyable, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to stay updated. We've got a lot more in store and we don't want you to miss out.
We are always diving into topics like this: academics, scholarship, professional life, and the international student experience. It's what makes Scholar ChitChat your go-to podcast for a fresh perspective. Also, don't keep all this wisdom to yourself. Share this episode with your friends and family who could benefit from it. We are building a community of learners and would love for you to be a part of it.
Your thoughts matter to us. We want to hear from you. Drop your comments and questions in the chat, or send your questions, suggestions, and comments to scholarchitchat@gmail.com. Your input helps shape the future of Scholar ChitChat.